Well, hey guys, my name is Pirate Rick, and you're listening to Myths and Mustaches. It's a super good audiobook podcast about pirating adventures, and they're all centered around me, the main character, and also my sidekick, whose name is Mustachio, and we sail the high seas together in search of adventure. Now, normally, Mustachio does this boring first part about teaching you something about pirates or whatever, but that's dumb, and I'm gonna go ahead and take over in his place and tell you my favorite fun pirate fact. And that's booty. So, why do pirates call treasure booty? Well, it actually comes from an old Germanic word spelled B-U-T-E, but it's pronounced booty. It means a financial exchange, and it just rolled off the tongue, so it stuck around for us. But as pirates, we don't exactly exchange anything, we mainly just take what we want. That's a super fun little fact, huh? But we actually have lots of words for various types or amounts of treasure other than the word booty. For example, if we find a small amount of treasure, sometimes we call that a heiny. And if it's a big amount, well, in pirating terms, that's actually called a badonkadonk. Oh, and if the treasure is where the enemy gives up, like super easily and doesn't even put up a fight, that's called a fanny. But on the other side of things, if it's like a super hard-fought battle and there's, like cannons and sword fighting and we barely get out of there alive, well then that treasure is, it's called a rump shaker. If the spoils include stuff beyond treasure, like food or supplies, we call that apple bottom fun buns. Rick, what did I tell you about using the mic while I'm pooping? Wait, are you recording? Rick, quit making up stupid butt terms for treasure. We don't use any of those in real life. Wait. But last one, okay, hear me out. If it's like the greatest treasure a pirate ever finds, like his magnum opus treasure, hear me out, we call it dat dump truck thick mama biggly jiggly. Rick? Yeah? Okay, I actually kind of like that one. I know, right? Chapter 6, Swimmin' with Yo Bay. Hurry, men! They're gaining on us! Shouted Captain Mustachio as the pirates raced up the mountain. Spears and arrows flew past their heads as they ran further and further up the trail. Princess Reneliana's boot clipped a rock in their flight, and she tumbled towards the ground. Using only 17% of his left bicep's power level, Mustachio snatched her out of the air and pulled her back onto her feet. She blushed and mouthed, "Thank you," as another arrow zinged past her head. Captain Mustachio and Pirate Rick halted to a complete stop. There in front of them was a humongous ravine that extended several hundred feet down. A raging river could be seen at the bottom of the ravine that went deeper and deeper into the jungle. The bridge that had been used to cross it had long since surpassed its lifespan. The ropes had frayed and fallen apart, and there was no clear way to cross. Reneliana ran up to them and looked at Captain Mustachio with fear in her eyes, saying, "What do we do now?" "We stand and fight," yelled Captain Mustachio, unsheathing his sword. "Captain, we have no chance in beating them. They outnumber us. You and Sweetbottom over there have to escape, and the rest of us will give you time to get away," gasped Pirate Rick, catching his breath with his hands on his knees. "Dang it, Rick. There's no way. How are we supposed to cross?" yelled Captain Mustachio, his mustache sizzling with desperation. "Look, I didn't want to have to do this," whimpered Pirate Rick, looking down. "Do what?" I love you," whispered Pirate Rick. "What?" Before Mustachio could finish his thought, Pirate Rick shoved Captain Mustachio off the cliff and into the ravine. "You douchebag!" yelled Captain Mustachio as he fell. "What are you doing, you idiot?" screamed Reneliana. "I did it for love!" screamed Pirate Rick, and he Spartan kicked Reneliana in the face, who flew off the cliff as well. "Now, men, it's up to us to buy them time." Pirate Rick was wild-eyed and fierce and turned his face to the oncoming natives.
Hey, Rick. Don't you think you probably killed them? I mean, who knows how shallow those waters are?"
questioned one of the pirates. "That may be, but it was a risk I was willing to take. Godspeed, Mustachio. You're our last hope." "Charge, men!" shouted Pirate Rick, drawing his sword. "Oi!" screamed the men as they bolted full speed into battle. The waters churned and raced as they carried the mustachioed man and his woman further down the river. Captain Mustachio turned to look and saw that Reneliana was unconscious from the fall, with a large boot print on her face. He swam towards her and grabbed a hold of her arm. Summoning his ancestral Aztec strength, he clawed at the water, swimming towards the edge. His endurance was fading, and his grip on the princess was waning. With a last-ditch effort, he managed to grab a nearby branch with his hook and lifted Reneliana up and out of the water. Dragging himself up and onto the shore, he turned to face Reneliana, who lay lifeless. "Baby girl, I need you to breathe," Mustachio whimpered with tears forming in his eyes. She gurgled as little bubbles trickled out of her mouth. Her face grew ever more pale. "Dang it, woman, wake up!" shouted Mustachio as he pimp-slapped her as hard as he could. But she did not stir. "Man up, Mustachio. You can do this," he said as he looked down deep into her face pores. With gentle grace and stunning bravado, he locked lips with Reneliana and breathed air into her lungs. The very touch of his stubbly mustache on her face brought her back to life and caused her to vomit river water everywhere. Mustachio?" she whispered, still coughing and sputtering. "Yeah, girl," the captain said, holding her head and running his hook down her cheek lovingly. You saved me," she smiled. "Oh, yeah," sang Captain Mustachio, who dropped her head immediately and stood up to do his sexy shimmy victory dance. Hey guys, thank you all so much for listening to Myths and Mustaches. My name is Logan, and I am the creator, author, editor, and voice actor for Myths and Mustaches. The intro and outro music for Myths and Mustaches was performed and recorded by the very talented Max Faith. If you loved it like I did, go check out more of his stuff at maxfaith.bandcamp.com. That's maxfaith.bandcamp.com. And if you liked what you heard from my silly stories and want to be a sponsor for my project, you can check out more of my stuff out on my Patreon. at patreon.com/mythsandmustaches. And if you're already a subscriber, then I just want to tell you that I love you. And you're kind of my favorite. And I've sometimes thought about you romantically. And if you're not a subscriber, then, well, I guess we can still be friends. Again, thank you guys so much for listening and subscribing, and stay tuned for more piratey nonsense in the upcoming weeks. Sound effects for this chapter were provided by Music for Video, Dark Harmonics, and Zapsplat. All of these creators and their content can be found at www.zapsplat.com.